We are good. It's a little soggy where we are, but we're not flooded, so it's a good day.
Awesome. Yeah, we're good here too.
My neighbors are flooding, but our house is higher.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. What about you, Lori? Are you there?
I'm here. We're doing good. I'm excited about this training.
Good deal. Well, we'll go ahead and get started, and we're doing the icebreaker. I'll send out another reminder real quick, but we've only got an hour, so we'll make the best use of it. So today we're going to talk about youth wetlands in the beginning after our icebreaker this morning. We have Catherine on with us. Hey, Catherine. So she's going to talk about opportunities to serve with them. She's got plenty of fun and great engaging opportunities for leaders. I'm sorry about the background noise. Apparently my family forgot that I'm on a call today. We're also going to do the colors personality assessment, do a couple activities together virtually, and then I've got a packet of information I'll share with you that you can do either virtually or in person with your clubs and your groups. And then we're going to have another open it up, have some conversation about where you are right now and what things and resources do you need within your clubs and your programs. Just a couple announcements before we get started. I did send out a volunteer engagement survey earlier this week. I encourage you all to complete it. We use that information for our annual reports. I use it for a lot of materials. I like to get good data and impact on what you're providing, the organization, the impact you're providing. I also had a research scale that I put incorporated into it, so it would really truly help me if you could go ahead, complete that engagement survey when you have the opportunity. I will send another email out after the call today with that link, so please see that and when you have that opportunity. Just a quick update too, we're going to do these webinars every month. We get opportunity for us to connect, share ideas, and also learn something new. We do have a regional volunteer conversation. We have those every 3 months. They're hosted in cooperation with the University of Arkansas. We do use Zoom for that platform, or Arkansas Zoom. We get a lot of great ideas. It's really an idea sharing forum. We have numerous leaders from various states that participate, up to I think 8 or 9 different states sometimes each session. So look for that invitation. I usually send those out with the when I get the newsletters updated. The next one is 7/27 at 6 p.m. It's on developing regional partnerships. So please look for that link when I send an update. Just a quick note as well. Been looking through the volunteer needs assessment. I've noticed that a lot of people have requested a club leader handbook. We actually have one of those available. We had updated this past year. We also have the club management resources, the letters to leaders. Those are online. I include those in the newsletter, and the recap of the session from last month. I'm going to share those again. Share those with the other leaders and volunteers that you interact with. Apparently that information is not getting out as much as we'd like it to. So we do have those guides available. I am continuously updating the website, the volunteer section on the LSU Ag Center website. So after we complete these webinars, I do post them to the VLA classroom, and I'll continue to post those resources to the website as well. All right, now I'm going to give it away to Miss Ruby Miller. I believe she has an icebreaker. Miss Ruby, are you available?
I am available, and I do have an icebreaker. And I'm going to be sharing my screen in just a few minutes, so I know that, okay, there you'll have to switch gears. Before we get started, I want to make sure that everyone has understands. I'm sure everybody has used Teams before, but maybe you haven't. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to show you, and it may take me just a second because I think we've change the way we do things. Oh, it came up real well. Okay, so can you see my screen? Does everybody see my screen? I'm going to make my
really big.
See Megan.
So you see Megan on my screen. That's a good thing. That's really good. Okay, so for the icebreaker today, there's a couple of the tools and teams that we're going to be using, and I want to make sure that everybody can participate. So if you're looking at, if you're on Teams, the Teams app on your computer, it probably looks much like mine. And up here you have your tools available to you. You have where you can see the people who are participating. You can click on the talk bubble and you have access to the chat. And you also have the little face and the raising hand, and you can click there, hover over, and you can click to raise your hand. You also have at the top the ability to turn off your video and your mic. Now, if you're joining us online, you're going to see this information across the middle of your screen. So your toolbar may appear right about where you guys see Miss Ann's face. That'll be where the toolbar is. So you'll have the same options, but just in a different area. And if you're participating from your cell phone, all of your tools pretty much are at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to pull that up on my phone and take a look. You will have, whenever you log in, down at the bottom of your phone, you will see your video camera, your microphone, so that you can turn off your video, you can mute your mic, and you also see the three ellipses, the three little dots. And if you hover over that or select that, whichever case, or click on it, whichever case, you're going to get another toolbar so that you can tap on and have the chat available to you. So you're going to need the chat for this activity. So if you will make sure that you've clicked on and you have the chat available to you over in the on the right side of your screen, or however it looks on your cell phone. So is there anyone who does not have the chat? I'm going to take that as a good sign. Everybody's able to chat. In a little while, you're going to type a message or a word in the chat, but you're not going to click on this little paper airplane and make it fly into the chat until everyone, or until you get a clue or cue from me, and everyone's going to submit at the same time. So in a little bit, there's going to be a question, you're going to type an answer, but you're not going to send it. Everyone's going to send it at the same time. So right now, I'm going to unshare and reshare. And I'm going to reshare, and right now you should be able to see a screen that says Mental Snapshot. Does everybody see that? Someone can answer. Let me know if you can see it.
We see it.
Okay, so Mental Snapshot. So May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. National Mental Health Awareness focuses on bringing tools, resources, and education to the general public. Now, Louisiana 4-H is heavily in the loop as mental wellness activities, curriculum, and so on are being sought and developed by members of the LSU Ag Center faculty. In fact, I'm not sure, someone can tell us if this is the focus for the year, or maybe it's just an option for our Louisiana focus for the year. So someone can give us that information if you know. But you should be watching for more on the topic of mental health and mental awareness from Louisiana 4-H. So taking care of your mental health is as normal as eating healthy, as exercising, as even saving up for that post-COVID vacation that we all feel like we need, that mental break. So all of that's very important. So we're going to energize our brains just a little bit by performing a mental exercise called Mental Snapshot. Now, if you will, and you may feel a little funny doing this, but it's okay, no one can see you. I know you probably have had a busy day. We've had terrible weather in Southwest Louisiana and probably Southeastern Louisiana as well. So before we get started, just take a couple of deep breaths and just let all those cares go away for just a little while. Just don't even worry about the weather, the thunder, the rain, if that's happening, the kids. Just relax and don't worry about those things. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you some 4-H artifacts. All of you that have some experience as a 4-H member or a volunteer or agent recognize most of these artifacts and their relevance to our 4-H youth. And what I want you to do is slowly scan the group of treasures, stopping just for a second when you see one that brings about a happy thought or a memory. There may be more than one, but just slowly scan and take a look at all of these different things that represent 4-H. Now, if you found one and someone has their mic on, if you mute your mic so we can all just relax for just a second. So if you find one of those artifacts that brings about a happy thought or a memory, take a moment to remember the people who you share this memory with. Maybe it was someone you helped or someone that helped you. Maybe it was something that you worked very hard on with someone and they achieved something. Okay. Now, hold that image because I'm going to remove one of those artifacts and I want to see if you can recognize which artifact is missing. Did you let everything go from your mind? Did you focus on what was the task at hand? Did you look at the artifacts that were there? I want to see if you can tell which one is missing. And when you discover which one was missing, type it in the chat, but don't send a chat. We're going to submit those all at the same time. Okay, so here are those artifacts again. And which one do you think is missing? Type it in the chat, but don't send the paper airplane. Don't let it fly into the chat just yet. Okay. Now, it's important to exercise your memory at all ages. We need to keep our brains active in a very positive way. And one of the ways is just to take time and slow down and observe and remember. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to let you guys, let's go back over here, submit your information. Okay. And go ahead, if you will, right now, submit your answer. Which one was missing? Don't know. Don't know. Oh, a question. No idea. It went too fast, maybe. Okay. So the one that was missing was the one, and I'm going to share the screen again. Let's see. Let me share my screen. And I'm going to bring it up and present. The one that's missing in the second one is this little button that says, "Don't yell at me, I'm a volunteer." How many times have we said that? Hopefully never, but it was missing from the pictures. So what I'd like to do now is, now that you're kind of in the mode and you've thought about some of those artifacts, is there anyone who would like to share a memory, or because you haven't been with maybe kids for a long time, you haven't been able to participate in some of these activities that these artifacts represent? Was there someone who, there was a certain artifact that you thought of somebody, or you thought of something, or made you miss something? So you're open to share your ideas, something you miss about 4-H. Anyone?
Ruby, this is Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Hey. I really miss the era. I had different eras with 4-H. I really miss the era when my kids were in 4-H. And so I'm really anxiously awaiting my grandson to be able to be in 4-H again.
Yeah, yeah. That is a good time when you can do that and do that with your grandchildren. I also see replies. Someone said the water bottle makes me think of the camp store. That was Susan Warner, and that's true. That's why I put that water bottle there, because all of those campers would walk around with those water bottles. Someone said miss contact with youth and the record books, helping kids with record books. And this year we didn't have quite so many activities, so the record books were not as full maybe as they had been in the past, and we hope that that will change soon. So is there anybody else that would like to share before I turn it back over to Megan? Someone said miss workshops. Yeah, miss workshops. The flag right along in my trunk back seat for our club. That's true. How many of us carry that flag right in our trunk or in our back seat? You got to move it around, and all those things are readily available for you. So very good. So, okay, Megan, well, I'm going to turn it back over to you and what you have for us today.
I don't know, my camera won't load. Weird. Oh, there it is. Okay, that was fun, Miss Ruby. Thank you for that. I'm going to reshare. There we go. And then next, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Miss Catherine, who I believe is still on. Let me check.
I'm here.
Awesome. So we're gonna move on. We're talking to Catherine. She has several opportunities to serve with the 4-H Youth Wetlands. Actually, the other day we had an in-person event, and she was recruiting volunteers. We actually sent out a couple emails, and so I felt like this is a great opportunity for her to just talk about those opportunities and what you could do within the programs that she assists with and manages. And then also because the session is recording and we can share it continuously, felt like it was a great forum for that. So Catherine, if you want, you can take it away. And do you want to share your screen, or do you want me just to leave this up or put it down? Let me know what you want me to do.
I'll share my screen. It's not as cute as what you have up, but just for visual aids while I'm talking.
Great.
So while I'm getting my screen up, I'll introduce the Youth Wetlands program. A lot of you might be familiar with it already, but it is a program that we implement in partnership with the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority. And the goal of our program is to essentially foster an understanding about the current complexities of Louisiana's wetlands and the wetland loss we're experiencing both in coastal areas and inland areas. And we aim to foster that understanding by providing educational programming, materials, and service learning opportunities to Louisiana's youth. And along with the Youth Wetlands program, we also have the Wetland Ambassadors team, which is a statewide leadership team for high school 4-Hers. And while they're acting as ambassadors for our wetlands, they're going through workshops and hands-on lessons where they're developing professional and leadership skills that they can carry with them for their entire life, as well as doing in-depth exploration of wetlands and natural resources. So they're getting that sort of professional network before they're even graduating high school, which natural resources careers have a wide variety of opportunities, whether it's going to college, trade school, or taking a job right out of high school. So this just kind of helps with the long-term career goals for those 4-Hers interested in that field while building leadership skills. When it comes to volunteer opportunities, there's a lot. Let's see. There we go. First up, both the Wetland Ambassadors and Youth Wetlands program offers educational trips. And for this, we not only need volunteers to help be leaders on the trip and supervise, but also if there's volunteers that want to lead a workshop or lead an activity, like in this photo, one of our volunteers is leading macroinvertebrates identification, which was part of a water quality themed field trip to Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge. And these educational trips are great. They can be overnight or they can be day trips. And normally we try and take 4-Hers or students to on-site wetland locations where they can do those hands-on activities and also just experience wetlands. They've learned about them in school, but they might not have ever realized that they're surrounded by them in Louisiana. So it just gives the chance to apply what they already know. We also have a new opportunity coming up where the Youth Wetlands program is trying to put together an advisory council where we'll have volunteers that review and evaluate the different components of the Youth Wetlands program and provide feedback and suggestions for how to improve and how to grow the program. And so for this, we're looking for volunteers that have a background in education, as well as knowledgeable about natural resources and wetlands, just so that they can cover and provide feedback on both of those aspects. We also have teacher trainings coming up. We just essentially redesigned the school enrichment aspect of our program. It went from being binders and boxes where we had binders of lessons with boxes of supplies that were sent out to teachers to it's been moved to an online platform that offers a lot of customizable features for teachers. So we're about to start hosting teacher trainings, and we'll need volunteers to help organize and run those teacher trainings. And once again, there's a variety of levels for volunteering at those events, whether you just want to help set up or whether you want to help run a certain part of the training. There's a whole spectrum of responsibility available for those. And more with the wetland ambassadors, their educational trips are a little bit more in depth and provide a little bit more cool workshops than a single educational trip that's put on for a group of students would. So for our educational workshops, or for wetland ambassadors, they have 4 weekend retreats that are scattered throughout the school year. And at these weekend retreats, they're doing skills workshops, whether it's outreach or wetlands related workshops. Some things they've done in the past is that they've learned how to take an aquatic sample population, do sampling for aquatic species using a seine net with fisheries biologists. In this photo, they're participating in a GIS workshop where they visited 3 different water sites and recorded water quality data and recorded that data using GIS software. And then they're also doing hands-on learning, so they'll also have interactive lessons where they're presenting or researching different wetland topics. And so for these retreats, we need volunteers that can supervise. If someone has a background in wetlands or natural resources and thinks they can provide an interesting presentation or an interesting workshop, we'd be happy to have people volunteer to run one of those workshops and put that on for the 4-Hers. And once again, there's a whole spectrum of responsibility available. Another big thing that both the Wetland Ambassadors and the Youth Wetlands program does is service learning projects. In this photo, we have 4-Hers alongside volunteers doing planting marsh grass. We also do invasive species removal, litter pickups, and tree plantings. So volunteers to help supervise, as well as if you want to participate in a service learning project, you can. So a few times a year, we'll have a service learning project available where we'll need volunteers to help out with that. And then this is just, I had this photo on here. This is a photo of them using the seine net to sample the aquatic species off of Holly Beach. where the fisheries biologists were teaching them how to, one, use a seine net, and then how to go through what they collected in the seine net to identify the aquatic species and do a survey. But if I still have a little bit of time, I can answer any questions, or if anyone wants to just have a conversation about it.
I actually met the Wetlands ambassadors 2 weeks ago when they were at Waddell. We were there for an archery tournament. They were so very nice.
Awesome. Yeah, we were there. And we found it so we didn't realize the archery tournament was going to be for a 4-H tournament, so it's funny that that worked out.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a 4-H tournament, but there were 4-H kids involved in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like, hey, I saw all these kids with 4-H t-shirts on. I was like, because they all had on like different t-shirts, but I was like, hey, because I'm nosy. Hey, what y'all doing? And they told me they were the Wetlands board, and I was excited because I hadn't met them before.
Yeah, that was their first in-person event for this year. So most of the stuff I was showing you guys was conducted virtually the past year, which was a little bit more difficult, but we should be getting back to the in-person opportunities, which is a lot more exciting for everyone, including the volunteers.
And Penny asked, who do we contact to volunteer? And Catherine, I gave her your email, cfox@eggcenter.lsu.edu. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And I'll also share it in the email, recap email as well. So thank you for asking that, Penny.
I have a question about where the trainings that are going to take place, where they're going to be, and what sort of roles do you see the volunteers playing? Because I'm very interested, but in volunteering, and what sort of things would you need for us to do?
So that's really up to what you're comfortable with doing. The retreats get held at various locations. I try to put them at different sort of like wetland hotspots in the state. So normally there's one in the southwest region, one in the southeast, one in like the central northern region, and then another one in a central northern region, just so that they're seeing both coastal and inland wetland areas and sort of being exposed to the whole picture instead of just focusing on one area. For volunteer roles, it can be from supervision and assisting with setting up activities, monitoring the ambassadors as they cook the meals, because they're the ones that cook the meals and clean up after the meals. Doing sort of the general things that happen at 4-H overnight events, monitoring the wet ambassadors, making sure they're not getting into trouble, to where you feel comfortable, because there is outreach workshops going on at the retreat. So if you want to help out with the outreach workshops, they normally have to present, and you can provide feedback on where they can improve or help facilitate them as they're developing what they're going to work on at the workshop. And then, of course, there's also the wetlands and skills workshops where they're doing fieldwork skills or meeting with industry professionals. So they've met with fisheries biologists, grad students where they got sort of the student perspective, and a few other, someone who works with GIS in terms of the agricultural field. So they got exposed to someone who uses GIS for agriculture and natural resources. And for those things, if you're comfortable with assisting with those workshops, you can help out, even help put them together and lead the workshop. But once again, it depends on your comfort level for that stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Catherine? Oh, I appreciate y'all asking so many questions. I figured if she could talk to y'all, there would be quite a bit of interest. So All right. Well, Catherine, I'm not sure if we have any more, but oh, we have a thank you. This is awesome. Thank you for an awesome 2 years with Wetlands. So some appreciation from Jessica in the chat. Great. Well, thanks, Catherine, for sharing with us today. If you want to stay on, you can, but I understand you certainly don't have to. Once again, I apologize for my family in the background, but thank you for the great information. We appreciate you coming on and sharing with us today.
No problem. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I'm happy to answer all of them.
Like I said, I'll include her email, contact information in the recap email as well. So awesome. Great. All right. Well, let's move on. We're gonna do some more fun. Great. So we got about, what, 27 minutes? Great. Okay. We're going to have some fun now. I was talking to some folks that thought it might be fun to do a real colors assessment. So I know we've done this at a leadership camp. I know that Lynette said that they did this like 10 plus years ago. And I'll say, is same here. I used real colors. I think I got certified in 2010, but I used it for about a decade with my freshman students. So I still think it's a great tool. I like to use it when working in diverse teams. So if you've ever done a real colors assessment, share in the chat and let me know. Anybody here that's ever used real colors? Anybody? We got quiet? Can you hear me? In workshops only, yes. So we got several folks that have used it. Perfect. Okay. So colors can change over time. So I will say depend, and they also depend on the context. So in my my work life, I'm very green. In my personal life, I'm very orange. I'm actually both green orange. So it's important to kind of continuously take that color assessment. So I have 2 links I'm going to share. I will in the chat that you can actually go ahead and do this online. It only takes a few minutes. There's several tools that I'm going to share with you where you could just do the online color assessment. You can give it to your youth. I also have a paper copy that you could use as well. So if you're doing an in-person session or if you're doing a virtual session, I've got several tools that you can use. So the first one I will share if you give me one moment. This one's really, oh, that one's more complicated. So I'm going to share the really simple one. Here we go. This one just gives you one primary. The reason I really like the paper copy that I'm going to give you all that you can use in your 4-H programs is that I think that everybody has a secondary color as well. So you have the primary, dominant, and then you have one that's also going to be high that's secondary. I've actually seen people that their colors are straight across the board. Their numbers are equal for all of their colors. So in the chat, I've shared a link to a colors assessment. So if you click on that, just give yourself a few minutes, go through those questions and complete that online color assessment. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about our results. So if you have that link that I shared in the chat, could you give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat? Or show me your camera and give me a thumbs up that way. Great, everybody's doing it. Awesome, perfect. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do it with y'all. Orange. All right. Likes change in variety. adventurous, performance oriented. Ooh, we got a lot of orange. Ooh, exciting. Green. Jessica, I'm a green too. Yay, greens. Only 12% of the US population is green, so. Ruby's an orange. Interesting. I'm curious to see what your secondary color is. Orange is the new black, and we're all leaders. That's great. Anybody else? Any results yet? We've got orange, orange. Oh, another green. Wow, that's interesting. Anybody else? I also got green. Any other results? So we've got all oranges and greens so far. That's really interesting. Orange, but I have never guessed that. Have been blue or gold in the past. Or Lori, it might be the tool. I'll share a couple other links that that might be a little better. That's interesting. Well, the other thing is I've noticed that depending on your situation, your colors might be different, like the way you're feeling, at work or also in your personal life. And so that sometimes impacts your color. It's very interesting though. And then Anne said she's a gold, a green, Penny's orange, Nikita's green. All right, I'm going to share this little image I found. Switch my screen real quick. So based on US population, you've got about 12% that are blue, which I thought that was really interesting. I was at National Conference let's say 2 years ago, and we had a lot of blues. Blues are very relationship oriented. They're the people in your team that often think about, relationships and people and feelings. So you definitely want those family spirited peoples in your group. Your greens, they're more logically driven. They're independent thinkers. They're really analytical. I'm a green, and so sometimes I need to take a step back when I'm dealing with a blue because I don't come at a situation with emotion. I often come at it with logic, and that can be shocking. So greens in the room are probably experienced that. Your golds, you got 38% of your population that's gold, and those are going to be your organized, responsible people. Not that your other colors can't be that way, but they're more detail oriented. They're those folks in your team that always have that plan. They're always overly organized with everything, and so you like to have those folks, especially when you're working with really detailed, complicated programs. And then your orange, which are your competitive folks, they're more adventurous, they're performance oriented. They're the ones that kind of are just like going after things, very sometimes impulsive, but they welcome variety and change. And so if you think about having all 4 of those different individuals in a team setting and what you might be able to accomplish that way. And so I have this really simple graphic that I can share with you. I have a couple others that I'll share as well. So if you want it, the reason I like to use real colors when I'm working with youth is it's a simple personality assessment. And there's a lot more complicated ones out there, but just understanding that when they're working with others, that they don't always come together at the same place. So your golds, and they're more like loyalty driven. They respect rules and they respect authority. And then you have these greens that are coming at you with a lot of logic, and they sometimes they're looking oftentimes for change, and they expect intelligence and competence and in a lot of the situations in the work that they're in. And then you've got your harmonious, I guess, blues that are really helpful when you're looking to be having that like team spirit, thinking about the individuals, not just, you know, the outcomes of a team. And then I like oranges because they like that change and variety. And they're often, you know, the ones that kind of get you excited and going when you're working on a difficult task. So one of the reasons I kind of like using real colors, and I like using real colors when I'm having youth creating service learning projects or working with a community partner to develop some type of a service learning plan. When you're working and there's going to be conflict, but just having an understanding that we're all different, we're all coming at a lot of the initiatives of our team from a different place. So let's do a couple questions now. We'll see if y'all can answer these. So which color said what? So some of you have a little bit more knowledge of the real colors than others. So based on what you know, which color would be more likely to say why? The ones that are always kind of questioning and asking why. Would that be your golds, your oranges, your blues, and your greens? Does anybody know?
Blue?
No, it's gonna be your green. So hold on, let me go back to my screen. Let's visit this just a little bit more. Maybe I went too fast. So that's just fine. So think your blues, your harmonious people, you're emotionally driven. They're always thinking about the individual and the emotions of the group. Your greens are going to come at you with a lot of that like logic. They're a little analytical. They're often thinking about problems and how to make changes and improvements. So, you know, being more effective, being more efficient. You know, why do we do certain things? Questioning processes, questioning tradition. Your golds are very organized details. They expect that punctuality, the order, loyalty. They need a lot more time when it comes to change because they like that structure. All right. So somebody like an orange and a gold, you can kind of see where a conflict might result because oranges are kind of like always on the go, wanting to, you know, accomplish things. They welcome change. They're good with it. They like variety in their work, whereas golds kind of like that structure and they just need a little bit more time to adapt. And then your oranges, they're competitive. They like their short-term kind of goals. They are great with flexibility. They're very performance oriented. They can be adventurous individuals as well, but sometimes can come off as a little impulsive. But you can see how we kind of need all of these 4 colors when we're working in diverse groups, or you know, how potential colors could complement others. All right. So now we'll move on again. See if I did this a little better. So which color now decide what? So I'll start with it. Which of the colors out of gold, blue, orange, or green is the questioner, the one that's always asking why? More often going to ask why, I guess I should say. Anybody want to take a guess?
Yeah. Orange will be just do it.
It's green, actually. Green is your questioner. They're the ones that are kind of analytical, right? You know, why are we doing this? Questioning tradition, trying to be more efficient, more effective. What is the one that like the Nike just do it? Like, let's go after it, get it done.
Orange.
Orange. There you go, Ramon. Perfect. Great. Yes, they're kind of on it. Like, let's, you know, fly by the seat of our pants type of thing. Let's get it. Like I said, we love some oranges in groups. Yeah, very sure. How does that make you feel? Who's gonna ask that question?
Blue.
Blue, right? Coming at you with that emotion, thinking about the person, individual, how they feel. Perfect. How about I'm making a list and I'm checking it twice? What would you associate that with? Oh no, I saw you light up.
Goal.
Very good, yes.
Go.
Definitely a goal. Yeah. Now, based on the assessment that you took, which was, a simple 5-minute link I sent you, and what I just explained in this activity is, do you believe the assessment that about yourself is true? You can share that in the chat, yes, no. Oh, so we got some yeses, so this is good. Going the right way. Nice. Okay. Thank you for validating the simple internet scale that I found. And Anne doesn't see, I don't know if I see you as an orange, Anne. That's a good question. The others could chime in what they think. Good thought. All right, so what about this one? And this one, I'll say, is a little outdated for our youth. They don't always know who Spock is, or Dorothy from Wizard of Oz breaks my heart. So if you have other that are more, 2020 popular, that we could add to this slide, that would be helpful. But who, if you could match a color with a famous, who would be Santa Claus? Ruby says gold because he's making a list and he's checking it twice. Very traditional, has a routine, sticks with it. So very good. Oh, Spock from Star Trek, for those of you that know Star Trek. Great, yes, he's definitely green, very good. So also that bias of a green, like not having that emotion, but they have emotion. What about Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz? What color would you associate with Dorothy? This is an orange. Interesting. Anybody else want to take a guess? We got some blues. I think technically that she's a blue. Yeah. Family oriented, friend oriented, very. And then what about Tigger from Winnie the Pooh? Oh, interesting. I wanted to be a green with that. So green, orange, yes. But this needs to be updated clearly, but technically associated with orange. Tigers like to bounce, 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 bounce. Very busy. So very good. Now let's move on. We've got some time, so let's talk about some of the strengths, and I'm going to share in the chat with you just that image that I shared earlier. Let's see. So what do you think are some of the strengths of some of these colors? For example, those of you, Ruby's here. Ruby, I think you have a high secondary color too. I like that it's orange, but I think you've got another. So what about a blue? What are some of the strengths of an individual that identifies more with the blue? Anybody want to chime in, give your thoughts on that? I'm going to go back to that slide too that's got my image on it, just to give us a better idea. What are some of the strengths you think when it comes to working in a team? What could blues bring to a team?
Keep everybody together, try to solve the problems, thinks on everybody.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Yeah, family spirit too as well. Very good. Great thoughts. Oops, wrong string. So, you know, some of those misconceptions about blues is that they're very emotional, they're overly sensitive. However, you know, blues, they're often that empathetic, they're caring, nurturing, family oriented, bringing in that harmony. They can be great communicators too, because they think about the individual person and their individual feelings, and then allowing others to feel valued. So there's a really great benefit to having blues. I'll say personally over time, and you know, working in outreach and community engagement, I have tried to become more blue as a person. I feel like it's very helpful because I work with a lot of blues. So that's something that I've just personally tried to do, and everybody's got a little bit of the color in them, but it's just the ones that kind of come out in those group situations. So great thoughts. So let's go move on. So what about a color like gold? What could gold bring to a group and benefit a group? What are some of the things that golds bring? Time management. Yes, they do. Organized. They are very organized. I will say I'm a very organized person when it comes to work. My personal life, maybe not so much. I like some golds in my corner. Very good. Anything else? Anybody else want to think, what could golds bring? I missed Jessica and Lori's comment about the blues family spirit and pointing out strong points and promoting them. So I apologize, I missed that. So for golds, they often seen as, you know, a little bit rigid or inflexible. And, you know, when you're in situations where you're trying to implement change, they need just a little bit more time. They might not be as receptive to it at first. So that's kind of some of the issues that you might run into when working with somebody like an orange who's, you know, loves it, or a green that's often trying to, you know, be more innovative and bring change. That they are dependable and they, you know, they're loyal as well. And so they also, you know, stick to tradition, which can be a benefit. But I like golds. They provide that structure, the core structure that a team needs. So they're very, very helpful in a team setting. What about a color? Whoops, I got ahead of myself. There we go. What about greens? So what are some benefits that greens could bring to a team? Anybody? Ruby said inventive. Okay, great. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Push people out of their comfort zone. Okay, a thinker. That's good. Great thoughts. Yeah, they like to find solutions. Great thoughts. So some of the things about green, like the common kind of misconceptions or thoughts, are that they can be a little critical. They can be somewhat aloof and unfeeling because a lot of times they're thinking about improvements and improving processes. Often is what some of the things that they're very analytical, so they're often in that place. They come at you with a lot of logic, and you know, that's something that I'll say as a green I do quite often, and I realize not everybody, you know, looks at a situation that way. They are very objective. They like to look at a problem or a situation from all points of views. They're very good. When it comes to analysis, they have an analytical mind, and they're deep thinkers. They also have high expectations of others and other groups. which can be challenging, you know, for any team setting. So you want to have greens in your team, but you also, you know, greens can create conflict, obviously, or get themselves in a situation where they might be in conflict with other colors, just because they're often coming at you with a lot of this logic and not always with that emotion that you know, a blue might come at a situation with. Great thoughts. All right, our last color is one of my favorite ones to talk about. Is orange. So why do we want oranges on our team? What are some of the strengths that they bring? Oh, Ruby had another one there about green, out of box think or bounce ideas and different activities. Great. Ramon said they're the best. I like working with oranges, I'll say. They're fun.
I think I put the one for out of the box thinker as the orange.
Okay.
Around to different activities.
They are. I used to work for an orange that had like almost no other color. He was so orange. I loved it. They're so much fun. They really are. Bring out the fun they do. So some of the strengths that they bring, obviously they're adventurous, they're courageous, you know, they're independent, they're very bold. Yes, they are multitaskers. You know, they like to have, you know, multiple things going, and they're, you know, always looking to accomplish something. They're very results-oriented people. They like to explore, you know, new opportunities, and they're often very flexible. So they're great, really great to have on, you know, on your team. Some of the kind of misconceptions or some of the difficulties is that they can be a little, you know, some might see them as a little self-centered, obnoxious, or, you know, taking these unnecessary risks at times, and you know, scattered. And I guess that some of the oranges I've known, you know, those are some of the things that others might perceive them as. But there's numerous strengths that they bring to your team. But like I said, any colors bring great strengths to diverse teams. So lots of great. I'll share these slides with you as well. So let's move on. It's about 7:02. And we're a little bit behind. That's okay. Yeah, it is. So I'll say we've been doing some real colors in teams with youth, and like I said, I've been doing it for several years. I just think it's an easy assessment. But I'm going to share a resource, a PDF document that I have, and it's just a simple one that I put together, but lately people have been requesting it a lot because, you know, we're working on these day camps and we're having youth together, working in diverse teams. So some of the, you know, questions that you could ask once you do that assessment with them, and then have a little bit more understanding of those different colors, or some of those kind of common misconceptions that we have about each other. So if you're working with, you know, your youth and they identify with a certain color, maybe you have them wear yellow, or they create a little sign on their desk that is yellow. It's not yellow, I'm sorry, it's gold. Oh, goodness. But they have a sign on their desk with the color that they're most dominant, and you have, you know, a series of questions or activities that they could work through. What are the strengths that they have that they could potentially bring to the team? What are those common misconceptions about, you know, their color? And then those clashes, those miscommunications that can happen, you know, between someone like a gold or a green, you know, or a gold and an orange, or any of the other colors, you know, they're coming at you very dominant when in their personality. And so some of the difficulties you might have working with those groups, and then having them going through scenarios of just improving communication with each other, or improving communication with other youth, knowing, you know, what some of their dominant colors are. So it's a great activity, just if you're going to have youth together in a large amount over the course of a year, you want them to have some team building activities. You could definitely introduce some colors and work together with them. And I will share some resources with you in my recap email. All right. So we're a little over time. We don't have a ton of time left. There's a few, well, we're a few minutes over. But like I'm going to share the recording. I'm going to record this. I'm going to push it to the classroom, the VLA classroom. So those of you that anybody can watch it at any time. We do have a certificate as well. And so I'm going to share that just so you have it. I know that some of you might have other responsibilities tonight, and I understand. So I'm going to share the link to the certificate that you can go ahead and complete. And I can get you your certificate for participating in this call, especially for those of you who are doing the master volunteer, working on their master volunteer portfolios, and you need the training hours. So I shared that in the chat. Go ahead and complete it. But moving on, so I want to just take a little bit of time for y'all to chat. So what's going on, in your clubs? I know you're on here tonight. We did a series of activities. We had an icebreaker. We talked about wetlands. We had some real colors. Was that helpful? What other activities do you want introduced? What are your needs? I know somebody had jumped on this call and talked about just wanting to have curriculum and wanting people to share curriculum and ideas with them. So where are you at? And, kind of open mic for the next 10 minutes or so. Does anybody want to share?
Okay, well, we just finished our 4-H year, and we just finished. I do a lot of shooting sports volunteering, and because of COVID, we didn't start with our new members until January. So we just finished their last practice last weekend. So we're kind of wrapping it up.
And Kim, I've noticed you've been logging your hours. So I just wanted to encourage you to do that, logging your impact. I know that takes time. It's sometimes time consuming, but I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, yeah. And I was going to tell you, I was going to ask you about that. My husband, I sent the link for my husband to do it, and he can't make it work.
Okay. Interesting. Do you want me to share you? I have some videos. I can share these.
Or maybe can you just send me the link? Because maybe there was something wrong with the link that I sent him.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
And share the videos too, because I may not even be doing it right. So
yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll reshare all of that. Yeah, I hope he does it too. But we had several volunteers that I've been able to send their hours to Volunteer Louisiana, and that service award through them. But I know that I've looked at the needs assessment, and I know y'all are not as caring about awards and honors, but I certainly care about awarding you all. So if you have free time, please continue to do that impact, and appreciate those that have.
Oh yeah, and yeah, he'll get an award in a minute because he does stuff all the time.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so Jessica has a question in the chat that I want to see if anybody could answer for her. But so how or what do you do to keep the high school youth involved? So anybody here that's working with high school clubs that wants to share what they're doing right now? Or has been, I guess, in the past. And Jessica, do you want to come off mute and just kind of elaborate on your question? Oh, Ramon's sharing.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I find that they're reaching an age where they're getting jobs and stuff like that is more important and moving on. and seems to be getting harder to keep them involved. Maybe after they finish livestock season, that's it. They stop coming or stop showing up.
So I think that question is really interesting, and I want to say I don't necessarily have the answer, but we can find some answers. And because I was on a conference last week, Louisiana After School. It was a statewide conference for after school programs, and that was actually one of the issues that they had, is that they had that dropout rate once they get to about 9th grade, and so they have lack of youth within their after school programs, where after school programming is also critical, and just being successful after high school or during high school and after high school. But their whole conversation was about incorporating experiential learning, incorporating 4-H programs as a way to kind of get those high schoolers more involved. So this is also just interesting. And then Ramon said, find an activity that they like. And I think another thing that I've noticed, so I've worked with some high school, and I'm not an expert, but they really like conversing about, they like having those opportunities to talk about differences and, making impact. And then, like those critical conversations that we often, maybe don't allow them to have, or don't think that they're interested in having. So I know that Xavier Bell, one of our 4-H agents, have been really successful in having these open forums where they just discuss like issues that are facing youth today. And those have been kind of interesting and successful. So I don't know. I'm not sure I was very helpful there, but I think that's a great question that we can certainly explore in a future webinar. Ruby says I'm right. I don't know if I'm right, Ruby, but I appreciate that. But I do think we could, let's explore that. I think that's a great webinar topic, especially considering the conversations that I had last week with some other individuals. Then another comment. Oh, sorry, somebody's talking. Sorry.
Megan, with Zoom conferences and the activities that we can do on computers, has there been any research? It would be short term, of course, but it would seem to me that if you could get on your computer and do something just like this is, of a short duration that is topic specific, that you would have a better chance of including young people and getting them to participate. Is there anything being done on that topic?
Like if a virtual setting is more popular than an in-person? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So I don't know. There's been some studies recently on success of virtual programming in short durations. And as you know, engagement on a virtual platform is kind of hard to do for a long term, for longer than an hour or so. So there's also like accessibility. So in the virtual world, some of your programming is more accessible, but some of your programming is also not accessible, right? So when you have transportation issues or location issues, but you have youth that have access to the internet, creates more accessibility, for your virtual programs. But then you have youth that don't have access to internet. Like we have several leaders that emailed me or texted me during this call that they're like, I live in a rural area, Teams doesn't work, I can't get on tonight. So, it's kind of that. You've got a kind of an issue, I guess, either way. So I just scored great. There's lots of research. I don't know. I could pull some that might be interesting to you, maybe.
I'm just thinking that if you had scheduled short-term gatherings with specific topics, you might be better able to engage not all of them, but a few. And it kind of feeds itself when you have something like that.
Yeah, I think there's a balance of both for sure. Somebody that comment in the chat, and I can't tell who it is, but they mentioned that their son, who's a freshman, would rather meet in person, not virtual. They like to hang out and eat. So just a quick story. I got the national conference delegates together with collegiate 4-Hers the other weekend, and we didn't have a full agenda due until the day before. They just wanted to get together. And so any event that I've had with youth this semester has been really high attended. And I think that's the reason, just wanting to get out, be in person, have something to do and hang out. Not necessarily, topical, just get together is what they've been looking for. So, and I don't know if that's going to die out over time, or if, we just have this all of a sudden, all this energy about doing stuff together just because we haven't had a chance to do that. So. And then Ramon said social media use, but I don't know exactly what question was or that comment was in reference to, if you want to share.
Yeah, how to keep those teenagers engaged with something. Maybe it's something that they like it. So all of them, they use social media for everything. So one good program maybe for them will be support local businesses or any kind of local store to activate their social media, because these kids, they use social media every day. They are addicted to that one. Well, we can canalize that to support the community. So we can have maybe any local store that is small and the owners are not IT orientated, that they can support them on get more publicity, marketing, something on social media, because the kids, they know what to do. So that would be maybe a good plan. And for some of them, even it can be a job later on. So any activity that they can use in the future as a job probably would be a good idea for the high school guys.
No, that's a great thought. I appreciate you sharing that. I have noticed that they like to engage on that on social media. So like hosting those on Instagram, sharing stories, creating educational pieces on Instagram that are on the story. I've had no trouble getting youth engaged in that. And also, yes, definitely learning technical skills through that as well. I think a future webinar for us could be exploring that topic that we just had about engaging high school youth and what are some of their interest areas, being that that's just a topic that's come up several times in the last few weeks. So, so let's do that. All right, well, we're starting to lose people now. It's about 20 minutes over. It's okay. I always like to stay over if people want to be engaged in conversation. We'll include these webinar recordings on the Leader Classroom for y'all. I will include the link to the evaluation if you didn't get a chance to complete it. I want you to definitely get your certificate if you're working on your portfolio. But thank y'all for joining tonight. I hope you found the information helpful or at least engaging in conversation. Always welcome to ideas on what we could provide in these monthly sessions. And so feel free to reach out with any other topics or ideas. And thank y'all for joining us this evening.